Welcome to Weather and Climate Chat. I am Monsoon Mike, and you are?
Dr. Michael Davis.
Dr. Michael Davis. Happy Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th to you.
And kind of a spooky look to the air. Air doesn't have a look. Spooky look to the sky and feel to the air after a couple of very warm, summery, humid days. Today feels like we're suddenly back into meteorological fall once again.
Yeah, it seems kind of like a Halloween-type day.
Yeah, so it's perfect for, and I think we have a full moon tonight, as they were making a big deal about that on social media, that it's a Friday the 13th with a full moon, but might not see it because we've got an awful lot of clouds around.
Yeah.
So.
Clouds could break apart a little bit later with the high pressure that's over.
I saw your forecast in the brief today.
Like Nova Scotia, southern Quebec today.
So what's been going on is, of course, this time last week when we recorded, we were in a nice spell of cooler weather. Cooler fall-like weather, and then we got into a pretty warm, mucky spell the past couple of days where it felt like summer once again. Cold front moved through yesterday with some showers and thunderstorms. Some of those were on the heavier side. I saw some reports of damage, nothing too crazy.
And they were quick hitting, too. So
they were quick hitting.
Pretty much came in and got right out.
Which is good because, unfortunately, a little bit of a trend we've been seeing lately is these storms training and hanging around, but these storms kind of just came through, did their thing, and were gone. So that was good. Today feels like a totally different day. Temperatures only in the 60s, east wind off the ocean, so it has that cool fall-like feel to the air. But the weather over the next couple of days, while there won't be anything too, major, it will be quite variable with kind of a temperature roller coaster, which is pretty average for this time of year to have that up and down with the temperatures, would you say?
Yeah, we don't really have that much in the way of extreme weather, but if you go further south toward Florida, they're probably looking at something tropical impacting their region over the weekend. We'll
talk about that in a bit. For our sensible weather in our area, the front that came through yesterday, Thursday, as a cold front will retreat back north as a warm front tonight, so that makes Saturday, tomorrow, a little on the warmer, more humid side.
Chance of some showers, too,
around.
Warm front passing.
Not the sunniest of days. Could still be lean on the cloudy side, but it will be warmer, not quite as cool as today, and more humid. Sunday right now looks like, if you're going to trace the better of the 2 weekend days, people like to do outdoor plans. Sunday looks like your pick of the weekend with some showers and thunderstorms Saturday night. Should clear into some sunshine on Sunday with highs right around 80 and a northwest breeze. So that's if the breeze is coming from the northwest, it's not going to be too humid. It's going to be fairly comfortable. That's a couple degrees above normal for where we should be this time of year. So a pretty nice Sunday.
Yes, and I think with the winds coming out of the northwest, it's probably going to be dependent upon Tropical Depression 9.
And I guess we will get to Tropical Depression 9. Tropical Depression 9 is our latest area of interest. Right now it is located near the Bahamas, unfortunately, but fortunately nothing to the extent of Dorian.
Oh, absolutely not, no.
Very, very weak, 30 miles an hour, which is not even storm phase at this point, just depression. And it is moving very slowly, much like Dorian did, 1 mile per hour at this point. The cone of path takes it very close to the east coast of Florida. The one model we looked at prior to going on the air here actually took it over, on the coast, but the National Hurricane Center right now keeping does have it going to tropical storm strength, which would be Humberto, I believe the name is.
Yep.
And then Humberto kind of staying offshore about 50 to 100 miles from Jacksonville. That's the official National Hurricane Center forecast. But it looks like some heavier, the GFS was implying that some heavier rain bands could work into northern Florida and southern Georgia. Nothing too major, but possibly some heavy rain for our friends down in Florida. And then kind of up the coast. And then once it gets to about South Carolina-ish, out to sea. And could even at that point, when it goes out to sea, turn into a hurricane. But at that point, it's a fish storm.
Yeah, pretty much just
models.
Doing due east.
Pretty much due east at that point. So looks like not a major storm, fortunately, but enough to cause some heavy rain, northern Florida, southern Georgia, maybe southern South Carolina as well. Humberto really doesn't affect our weather too much. However, it could have some indirect impacts on our weather next week, would you say?
Yeah, and that's what I was going with the northwest flow.
Right.
So if you have the low that's sitting just off the coast, you're going to be having the counterclockwise rotation, circulation around that center, and that's going to be bring down the colder air from the north. Mm-hmm. So it could give us some fair amount of cold air advection and keep those temperatures cool, like what it looks like for middle of next week.
Yeah, it actually doesn't look too cool. That's average, actually about average. I think average this time of year is what, about 76-ish?
76, 77 probably.
So actually after a couple...
Mid-upper 70s.
So actually after a fairly couple warm days on Sunday and Monday, it looks like just fairly average weather for the rest of the week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday looks like mid to upper 70s. Nights in the 50s, which implies to me that since it's going to be nice and cool at night, the humidity is going to be nice next week, which is good because I hate that sticky dew point feeling that we've had the past couple days when our dew points were in the 70s.
Yes, and then you and I were looking at the GFS model way, way, way far ahead for the end of September, and we saw something quite interesting with the S word appearing in the Northeast.
Yeah, well, again, folks, and you know us, we're the farthest from hype at all, but it's always fun to look at I like to call them fantasy models.
Yes.
I mean, because at this time next week we might be sitting here and that could be, have totally flipped and it could be calling for 80 degrees in New Hampshire at that same point.
Yeah, so, by no means are we putting any stock into that.
But it is interesting that there have been, and I have seen a couple of the weather geeks, as I like to call them online, hyping this big cool down at the end of September. So, yeah, the GFS is on that. I think the Euro is implying cooler weather at the end of the month too. Will that hold?
Does the Climate Prediction Center say that too?
I don't know. Let's bring them up right now. National Weather Service Climate Prediction. Here we go. I believe last I saw they really weren't. I think they were just pretty much the 6 to 10 day outlook was still, above normal temperatures in our part of the country, and 8 to 14 day, which takes you out to the 26th. So what we saw was even beyond that. But no, right now, if you're following the Climate Prediction Center, above normal temperatures. Maybe not extremely above normal, especially on the 8 to 14, but above normal. And rainfall, a little below normal for the next 6 to 10, and maybe a little above normal later this month. So maybe, and that's the other thing some people have said to me. They've been like, hey, Mike, the first part of this year was like nonstop rain, storms. That kind of changed quite a bit the past few weeks. It's been very benign.
Yeah, we really haven't had that much in the way of fluctuations in the weather. We've had spotty shower here and there, but that's been pretty much the extent of what we've been dealing with. Even the storm we had pass through on Thursday, that was kind of an oddity in the whole past week. Yes. And I guess if you were one of those few people that were actually under one of those storms, you'd be like, well, hey, what are you talking about, Mike's? I mean, I had some active weather. Well, yeah, but for the most part, the past few weeks have been much more calm than we've seen most of this year. So I don't think many people are complaining about that. No, I don't think so, especially after the fact that we're almost a foot above normal for precip this year.
Right, but if you do look at the 8 to 14 day outlook and you see that we're greater than equal chance of precipitation, and then you look at those fantasy models like the GFS that give us, maybe some heavy rain later in the months, maybe you could imply putting those two things together that later this month we could get back into a more active phase again. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Not going to put too much stock in that at this point.
I agree.
Okay.
Don't get the snow shovels out yet.
No. And even if that did happen and upstate New York or New Hampshire or Maine or had some snow, at that point, it's not the shovelable type. We're just talking about some like wet snowflakes or something. So.
Yes. We got, I think, a few more months to go.
Still got a few more months to worry about that kind of stuff, that's for sure. Any topic or anything you wanted to talk today about, Dr. Davis, or are we keep it on the short side today?
Other than just the Tropical Depression 9 that's down toward Florida that we hit on, my concern is that you're having a lot of rain already from Dorian, and now you have the system coming over pretty much the same area. The silver lining to that, though, is that the ocean's pretty much been zapped of moisture from Dorian, so it's recharging right now, so it doesn't really have a lot of fuel to get going. So I don't really expect any sort of major development from this particular system until it probably curves away from the shoreline, possibly strengthens. But at that point, it'll be more than 1,000 miles away from the U.S. mainland.
Right. A fish storm, as I like to say.
Yes.
Might affect a few shipping cargo ships or a couple fish, but other than that, no.
Maybe Bermuda.
Yeah, that the one spaghetti model had Bermuda potentially having some issue, but I think even they might escape this particular one. It looked a little to the south, but again, if you have any interest in Bermuda, the best site you can check is the National Hurricane Center, and they'll keep you posted on that.
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll just leave it at that. We did 11 minutes. That's good enough. We'll touch base with you again next week, and we'll see where that end of September northern Maine snow stands at that point.
And just to give you a little taste of what to come in the future, I believe one of my students will be joining us on the show next week.
Okay. All right, that's the goal for any of our regular listeners, is to bring in a student a week, if we can do it.
Yeah.
Try.
Yeah, we'll try.
Yeah, we'll be back on the Thursday schedule. I had a family event yesterday to handle, but today was we normally record on Thursday. So next Thursday we'll be recording, and I hope to have that podcast released later in the day, I should say. Later in the day next Thursday. So we look forward to that.
Awesome.
All right, Dr. Davis, thank you so much. We'll see you again next week.
Always a pleasure.
Okay.